What's up, guys? This is Coach Ray from Armwrestling, and today I'm going to share with you a really great conversation I had with Paul Linn. Paul is the rising star of USA Arm Wrestling. He is top contender in middleweight light heavyweight division. He's one of the nicest guys in the business, and we had a really great conversation about many different subjects, like his passion for football, his sporting background, the problems USA is facing with arm wrestling, and so many different things, as well as talk about his upcoming super match with John Brzenk. So I hope you enjoyed the conversation we have. Like, subscribe, and there are a few timestamps so you can navigate through the conversation faster if you want to skip something. But I would recommend, and of course, ask you guys to watch it in whole because it was a really good conversation we had. And yeah, Paul is one of the nicest guys, and I'm a true supporter of his. So enjoy the conversation. So it's super early for you. You woke up like 5 a.m. Yeah, no,
4:30.
4:30. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I'm usually up early anyway. I'm about five. I'm a 5 a.m. person anyhow.
like when you go to sleep.
Depends. I mean, ideally, if I could always do it, I'd go to bed at like 9:30, 10 o'clock, but usually it's more like 11, 12.
Damn, it's like I have never done it. Like, I have days when I just fell asleep, but I really cannot go to bed early. Like, impossible. And every time we do a podcast with you, and the times when we did it really early, I'm like, how is this guy alive? And you're like, drinking your shake.
I'm used to it, man. I've always gone to work early and everything like that. So I'm not a morning person, but I've adapted enough to be to be able to listen to my alarm clock and get up to it.
So give me a little background on you. So what do you do? What's your occupation job right now?
Um, I have my full-time job. I'm a project manager, and my part-time job, I run a strength coach. I'm a strength coach for a high school football team, and I coach linebackers as well. So varsity football coach.
Nice. That's 100% American thing.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Europeans here, we're like, I don't get your kind of football, but you understand it.
Right. Yeah. No, I got you. Maybe in Canada, but yeah, I mean, here, depending on the state, like I'm in Pennsylvania, so like coaches for a high school team are not quote unquote full time. So like a head coach is usually a teacher, and that's supplemental income. However, some places in the country that take high school football even more seriously have actual fully paid head coaches. Pennsylvania is not quite that way. I think that's more like the Texas area. They take their high school football very, very seriously. So yeah.
Do you have some goals there? Do you want to go to, college level?
Nope.
No,
Zero.
you're just kind of passionate about it.
Yeah, I mean, I like the relationship aspect. I had a coach when I was a kid that said life is about relationships, relationships, relationships. These are the most important things. So you get the opportunity to help mentor some kids, watch them grow physically, and then, into adults. So for me, that's been the only real drive. Like, people ask, do you want to be a defensive coordinator? Do you want to be a head coach at the high school level? Do you want to go? No, I don't. So there's really no way that football is ever going to replace my full-time income. That's the other thing too. Like, if I wanted to go that route, that needed to be right out of college, and I need to make that decision and say, I'm going to take this hard road, because coaching, like, for a full-time salary is a really, really tough road. So like, you have to really pay your dues. And I've known personally, I've had, some interactions with some guys who have made it as coaches. My college linebackers coach is currently coaching in the NFL as a defensive coordinator. So he's made it. But I know where he started, and I know what he was making when I was playing in college, and I know how old he was at the time. And I didn't want to go down that route. I needed to make a little bit more money, quickly.
Quicker. Yeah.
Quickly. Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, the football culture is big in USA, and
Yeah.
I don't think I have ever seen like a live game. We have rugby here, but it's different.
Right.
I think that, like, I'm not a big fan of soccer,
Mhm.
but the culture behind soccer is big as
Right.
well. You know, it's
Yeah.
crazy, but I just want to, whenever I go next to the States, I just want to see a game, you know,
Right.
and the people, you know.
Right. I mean, it's interesting, now COVID has changed everything, but like from the high school level to the college level. So you have your different levels at each of those. Now if you're at a big Division I college, like you're going to a Penn State game, that's gonna, you're gonna have 100,000 fans. But to me, there was nothing to replace that local rivalry game at the high school level. To me, that was the
All
purest.
town is out, yeah.
Yes, like 10,000 people come to a game with a stadium that's this big, and it's for a bunch of 16, 17, and 18-year-old kids. And that's the biggest moment of their life. To me, there's nothing more pure than that. Now, things have changed quite a bit with the spectators and everything, but for me, that was kind of the pinnacle. Even going to a Division II college, even though we got decent turnouts and stuff for spectators, nothing was really like the big high school games for me.
Yeah, we don't have, like, for me, and I think mostly in Latvia, we don't have that. When, the local team is playing, everyone comes out. Like
Right.
basketball, football, like it doesn't matter. But just from the movies, I have seen it, and I'm like, this is so cool,
Right. So the primary sport in Latvia is soccer or like
I would say it's
football?
ice hockey. It's
Ice hockey. Okay.
Yeah. We're top 10 team in ice hockey. Of course, football and like soccer and basketball, it's easier to play,
Right.
So now it's 3x3 basketball. We won the Olympic gold, so
Okay.
it got like super big, super fast, But yeah, it's mostly ice hockey because we're kind of wintry country. We love it.
Right. So what is it? What is a game? What does an ice hockey game look like? Is it like a huge turnout and a big deal?
It's usually sold out. We have like it always happens at one place in Riga. It's one
Okay.
big stadium. The Before COVID, it was almost all the time sold out. If national team's playing, if the top team's playing, it's close to that. It's like 7,000, 11,000, the full capacity of the place. But
Right.
it's nowhere near, like we're 2 million here, less than 2 million.
Right.
We have it different, but if you ever watch ice hockey, you will see some Latvian fans, and you're like, okay, those guys are crazy.
Well, ice hockey is one of the last true tough guy sports too. With the the physical
It
nature of
keeps
it.
the dentist business alive.
Right. And you know what? I remember, when concussions started becoming a major focus in football, and everybody was out for like blood, and everybody wanted they want to file a lawsuit against the NCAA and everybody else for football. I'm thinking to myself, like, hockey, they let you fight. These guys don't have teeth. They probably have a concussion every other week, and nobody's saying anything. So I definitely respect that sport.
Like there's position called enforcer.
Yep.
Like the fighting is allowed as long as you don't throw the guy on the ground. Like if you stand up and and it's more in NHL. In European, it's not that, but we still have it, like huge fights, and sometimes we'll have like there's a big, like, then it's NHL and KHL. The KHL is like European kind, Russian kind league, and it's crazy, and we have our team there. It's like in winter nights, that's what keeps me up.
Nice.
Yeah. So what's your sports background?
Football, basically. I mean, I played everything when I was a kid. I had above average athleticism. I wasn't a large kid, but I played everything. I started out like passionate about baseball and basketball, delved into wrestling a little bit, and then really my passion spiked for football. I didn't start football until I was a little bit older. So it was like right before high school that I started football. So I was late into that, which I think was good for me because I didn't burn out. Here in the United States. Well, when you're young, you don't get them. So I've got plenty of concussions since then. But no, when like, so for instance, like my son's 6 years old. Most people in this country have already had their kid playing for 2 years when they're 6 years old. And as a coach, though, to me, that's silly. Like the kids are like, they got this giant helmet on. They don't know what they're doing. They got parents are too into it and they're putting too much pressure on them. And for like the next 6-7 years of their life, they get jaded towards the sport. Now, some of them don't. Some of them have the longevity. But for me, I feel like, first off, I'm going to let it be his choice. And second off, I'm not going to encourage it in any way, shape, or form until 7th or 8th grade when he's more like 12 or 13. So that's around the time that I got into it. And I fell in love with it because of the team aspect and the physical nature of the sport. So from that point, I went on into a very large high school, the one that I coach at now, biggest classification in the state. So with a large high school where we graduated a lot of people, it's very difficult to play multiple sports. So I really settled in on football and focused on that and went on to play at college and then overseas in Europe. So yeah, that's the sports background, the progression there. It was one of those deals where I went to a Division II school. So like, I don't know how much you follow like Travis Bateman. His son plays at a Division II school, but a very good one. Yeah. And some of the upper tier D2s are really close to D1s. I didn't know what I was doing coming out of high school. I had several offers and had attention from different schools. But for me, it was a learning experience because I didn't have anybody in my corner from my family side that had experience with college recruiting or anything college. So I wound up being late on some things and settling into a D2 school. And I was only a partial qualifier based on my grades because I wasn't focused on that stuff in high school. So I had the mandatory red shirt and I played my 5 years at Bloom and wound up doing pretty well. And then it was the decision point where I got an agent and he asked me, what did I want to do? Do I really want to pursue that NFL dream? Or do I want to go ahead and focus on Europe and do some other things in between? So I was able to, I'm a realist, I'm just under 6 foot. I'm not going to spend the next 8 years of my life chasing the NFL dream and then get out of there at, 28 years old, 29 years old and haven't started a career. So I said, let's go to Europe route. And we did that. And I was able to do my master's, my grad work in the interim. So.
That's cool. And how did it bring you to arm wrestling? When did the arm wrestling happen?
Way later. Way later. So by the time I finished up my grad work and got back home, I started coaching. I've been coaching seamlessly since I was done playing. And I guess, man, it was about 10 years. I think I was coaching 10 years before, and when I was younger, it was easy. I was super passionate about the strength program. I'm training just like I was playing, I'm cleaning and deadlifting and squatting and, everything was competitive along with the kids, trying to chase goals and everything. And finally I kind of like sputtered, what am I doing this for? I actually, I got a tear in my quad tendon and, from just squatting and years of beating my body up. So what am I doing? I got to find something. I got to find some type of hobby that I can be competitive at. So wound up just looking up arm wrestling and found a local tournament and just showed up there. So that's how it all started. Well, actually, one of my high school coaches that coached me that is now on the staff with me, that I've been friends with, ever since I was 16 years old. He was the one that found the competition and said, hey, let's go. So
just like that.
Yep. They say you're always good at arm wrestling. I had like some weird instances at bars where people were challenging and stuff. Yeah. And the people in my circle, there's kind of a known thing like, oh, if anybody wants to arm wrestle, just, tell them they got to do it for money and get Paul, blah, blah, blah. So that was always a thing. And there was one instance where this guy that I coached with, and another guy who coached me in high school, who's from like a coal region town and everything. We were downtown. We were out at like a club, and one of my previous coach's friends was there and supposedly was like some state champion, national champion arm wrestler at like 185 pounds. And one of my buddies was like, oh, okay, he should arm wrestle Paul. Paul, go to arm wrestle this guy. We're gonna put a couple $100 on it. And my coach who coached me was like, no, Paul, I'm not letting you do that. I'm not letting you lose all your money, blah, 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 blah. And here we are in this nightclub. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's 185 pounds. So we get to the corner of the bar and everything. And I, boom, don't even feel him. And And then you're like, no, let's do it again, double or nothing, boom. And then at that point, I think was when the guy that coached me was like, all right, well, if this guy truly is a state champion, national champion, then you need to go find a tournament. So that's really kind of
was he?
I guess. I don't know. I don't know him now. He was an older dude. He's probably 50 now, 50 something. So maybe he was, maybe he wasn't.
Back in the day.
But he was upset. I know that.
So how did you do on your first tournament?
I won the amateur class. It was a 198 plus class. I won right and left there, and I jumped into the pros, and I took third. And I did, in fact, beat a national champion in that endeavor. But I was jaded by that because in my mind, I was expecting to win. And that was a 198 plus class also. So it was like a super class, and everybody I was pulling was way bigger than me. And in my mind, I went home and I tweaked something in my shoulder, and my labrum's never been right since that first tournament. Because I didn't know what I was doing. I was like outside my shoulder.
Yeah.
And
mostly pushing.
Yeah. And I was like, I don't know if I really want to keep doing this. Third place, that's crap. You know what I mean? So I had like a little hiatus between there before I decided to go to another one. And this is all prior training or anything. The most I had done was look up Devin on YouTube. So yeah. Now I wound up going to another tournament, bigger tournament, the PA Winter Blast, and pulling the 198 plus class again and winning that. And that's where I met Tim Brzenk and Ron Klemba and those guys, and decided to get a table. There was many more entries in there, and the environment was really cool. And that's where I kind of got addicted. And I met a lot of people at that tournament that I still train with now. I met Sam Harris, I met Storm, I met all those guys at that tournament. And I was like, okay, these guys are legit. Like I met Storm and Sam, and I'm like, okay, how can somebody that small be, or, how can somebody's hand be that strong? And that's where I kind of got bit by the bug and started just traveling every weekend.
Yeah. Like whenever I hear someone who is, good, strong, like highly ranked in arm wrestling, they usually start really good, real fast. Like they get to medals straight away or win.
Yeah. And that's, what I get like messages a lot, like on Instagram and Messenger. I kind of like, I just got one the other day from a gentleman who asked me like, oh, I heard you started out at a pretty high level and, you progressed well in your first year. What do you attribute that to? And I said, like, I kind of came into it already, like in the medals at, the local pro level. I wasn't at an elite level or whatever.
You skipped the novice, you skipped the amateurs, basically. You were lower level pro at the start. Yeah.
And you know what? That's funky to like tell somebody new, like, but it's also, I think, kind of important to be realistic in that aspect, that there is like an innate ability, I think that you kind of need, I think, to progress really, really quickly. Doesn't mean that you can't progress. Doesn't mean that you can't become real great.
It's just gonna be slower.
It sounds bad talking to a new guy who might, be currently struggling or whatever. But the reality of it is I believe in this sport that, regardless of the level you start, your hard work is going to dictate where you go. And I think this is one of the few sports, like in football is a great example. Like, I mean, if you're just not blessed with certain physical attributes in football, you probably will never have success. You know what I mean? Like if you're not blessed with the correct height and weight or, natural speed and physicality, you're never going to develop that to an elite level. Whereas with arm wrestling, I think you can be blessed without some of those genetic things, and over time and hard work, you can in fact develop them. So I think that to me is the difference in this sport, which it makes you keep wanting to train at least.
Yeah. So I get to one big question. So why do you love arm wrestling?
Because I'm 40 and I can still do something competitive and not get hurt. Like, I'm not knock on wood, but like I can not destroy my body, non-weight bearing lifting and things of that nature. And it's the opportunity to be at the table and get that true competitive drive that I haven't had in a long time. It's that energy that you can't really get from anything, outside of what is a combat sport or a physical sport. It's you versus one other person, nowhere to hide. There's, to me, at this point, it's an adrenaline rush. Plus, it's something that keeps me focused on that next goal. you know, on a day in and day out basis, where if I don't want to go to the gym, I got to go to the gym. You know, I got this next thing coming up. And if I don't go to the gym, you know, this is my motivator, you know. What about you, Ray? How did you get into it? I know you started real early, didn't you?
Uh, like I got into the, like, we have a professional high school. I finished primary school and I got in professional high school, and there was arm wrestling table, and there was some like, not even national, there were some European medalists in the gym. That's the same gym that I own now. The same gym.
Right.
That was
So
my
you
first.
own that. You own that gym now?
I rent it, you know, but
Okay.
I'm kind of the manager,
Okay.
to say, you know.
Okay.
But yeah, I kind of went in that gym. It was 2006, first time I just saw an arm wrestling table. Uh, I was a small kid, you know, I was maybe 57, 58
Oh
kg. I
wow.
just
How
had
old?
my
How old?
appendix surgery. It was 16 years old, you
Okay.
know.
Okay.
So, and you know, where I grew up, there was no chance for being athletic, and I always loved the sports, all the sports. So I never had a chance to train in a gym. And I got into the gym. I couldn't do anything else because I had my appendix surgery. So I didn't go to sports classes, but I could go to gym. So I'm like,
Right.
okay. And I just got obsessed, really, really
Right.
obsessed. I noticed that I can bench way more than most people, you know, that are 30, 40 kg heavier than me. So I just went that route. And plus, some of my friends from the gym, you know, they were doing arm wrestling. And I'm like, okay, I will try that. I think my first competition, I get like second place with left arm, something like that. My
Mhm.
left was always better, way better. And somehow it sticked, you know, somehow it went there. But I love so many things about arm. Like, one of the things someone will ask me, like, why do you like this? It's so fun. I cannot explain to you how fun is getting on table and practicing just
Right.
arm wrestling with
Hmm.
20 different arms. It's
Yep.
fun because you all
Yep.
the time you're in a real time danger, but not really, because you have to, you know, move around and do other stuff, and there's way more. And the community was the big part. Community
Right.
was the reason. When I went to get my bachelor degree, I started as a powerlifting coach, but I changed my, you know, the
Mhm.
sport in first month because arm wrestling community was way better, just like
Right.
miles ahead, you know.
Right.
And somehow it sticked, and somehow I end up here. So
Right.
I think I made the right choices there. But for me, like, the fascination was like, why is this guy so strong? How can I be this strong? You
Right.
know, what can I do? And I'm one of those guys that didn't start really good. It was a very long road for me to get, you know, to decent level. And at one point, of course, in, you know, 5, 6 years in, I started, you know, focusing on other people than myself.
Right.
This past year has been just a little bit more about me. But yeah, the arms, I cannot explain to people who
Yeah.
are not competitive, that this is the most competitive thing you can do
Right. You make a
without
good.
putting
You make a.
yourself in danger, you
Yeah.
know?
Right. I mean, what's the worst that can happen to you? You can break an arm. You know, I mean, like
Yeah.
kids break their arms falling out of
And
trees
the
every day.
chances are way more slimmer than spraying an ankle just by
Right.
running. Way
Yep.
more,
Right.
you know?
You make a
So
good point about practice too. Like I think people don't realize, like my wife's always like, why the heck are you driving 2.5, 3 hours to go to practice?
it's
And
fun.
I'm like, because practice is more fun than a competition. You get to test yourself way
Yeah.
more in practice
Yeah.
than in a competition. Like you said, 20 different arms, all the camaraderie, seeing the people you haven't seen. And to be, you know, there's a weird thing about practice too, where you're not being competitive. You're not trying to wax people. You shouldn't be, at least,
Yeah.
but you're testing yourself. You can gauge yourself and see where you're at.
Yeah.
So I can go to a practice and see that I've progressed and be as happy with myself and my hard work that if I went to a tournament and flashed 6 people and got a medal. I can be sometimes happier when I can make that guy work that I wasn't making work at practice.
Yeah.
To me, that is a notable progression that sometimes you can't quantify in competition because you don't control the competition. In practice, you control the competition. So I think that's one of the biggest. I mean, I see why a lot of people, and I know a lot of people like in the pseudo area that practice and almost never compete and practice every single week. that they just love the aspect of going to practice, seeing where they're at, and they're just really not interested in driving to that tournament. They'd rather go to their practice locally.
Because then it gets serious. You go to the tournament, it's serious.
Right.
Win, lose. You have to be serious. You have to be in that moment. Practice, you kind of be all over the place. You will arm wrestle someone and they will leather you. And you're like, okay, I have to get more serious about that. And you go there and you start leathering them. And they're like, what happened? It's all about, in a practice, it's all about attitude. And this is why I say, like, practice pools matter only for you, and they shouldn't matter for anyone else.
Right.
The only one that really gets anything is you, because you know how much effort you put in, and what you were doing. Everyone else can do the same thing. So it only matters to you. And in a tournament, you do those things too. But tournaments are also fun. Tournaments makes me feel powerful. You feel strong. You beat everyone in that class. It's a weird feeling you get. You know, and you will never get that feeling in a practice. You might have a good practice where you're the toughest guy, but in turn, it's real. It stays with you for 3 days. You walk around, you're like, yeah, I'm the man,
There's definitely, you have to have some form of ego. Whether you wear it on your sleeves or not, you have to have some form of ego. I think, to be really great in that aspect. But let me ask you this. This is kind of a tough question for me. Because you have the bachelor's in arm wrestling coaching, and because you spend a lot of your time working with other people, have you found that the time and energy that you pour into other people can detract from your own progress?
Oh yeah, 100%, 110 million percent.
How do you deal with that?
I don't. It's all like, so I started coaching really in 2011. In 2012 or 13, I went with my boys to first Europeans and Worlds, and I got like 3 medals in those. So I was so invested in them that when it came time for me to compete, I had zero energy. And when the competition ended, everyone went to after party. I went to sleep, and it happened for 5-6 years in a row. So for me, it's, if I'm invested in you, and it's like, there's times when I will bring my guys and there's no chance they can lose. Then I'm chilled.
Right.
Then I'm chilled and I don't care, because they know what they have to do. But when I need to bring out a little bit more of them, this is where I get invested. So there are some videos from 2013, 14 Europeans and Worlds. And if you watch some classes where my guys are competing, you can hear me shouting in the background. It was crazy. You can hear me through everything, because I was so invested. And it's very hard to be a coach and be an athlete. So if I have a chance to compete, so like I do way better outside Latvia than I do inside Latvia, because I'm organizing every competition here. So there hasn't been really big competition that I haven't done in 7-8 years. So I'm all the time working, Mike, referees, looking at the score, keeping all the things together, and then I will try to compete. Sometimes I'll do really good, but most of the times I'm so exhausted that I just, and you cannot figure out, like, what does it mean? You're just exhausted.
Yeah. You only have so much energy. That's all it is. And I think people, until you really get into until you become a true, like, passionate coach of something where you spend a lot of your lifeblood in on it, I don't think that you can understand it. Like, you only have so much emotional energy. And like you're talking about, like, cheering people on, like when it comes to football, the motivation aspect, and like, football is a serious thing for us, and we spend so much time and energy week in and week out breaking down an opponent game plan and pushing our kids to practice, and then the game day comes on and it's that crescendo and all the energy goes to like a peak level. After that game, especially a close game, even as a coach, I feel this emotional dump. Like first off, all the pressure's gone, but second off, all the energy's gone too. So I found it to be very difficult, in my process now with arm wrestling, of becoming the senior guy in my area, or, with the group of guys that I've worked with. It has been very tricky for me to balance local practices and holding events, and also focusing on my own progression. that's definitely something that I've had a challenge with, and it's kind of gotten to the point where I stopped hosting local practices because I didn't have the emotional energy capacity for it.
I'm 100% there with you. Like, one thing is when you're world like absolutely one of the best, and you can kind of manage all that together, but at some point you're still gonna just be too exhausted.
Right.
So I had a lot of times when someone asked, like, why do you care so much? So I spent 3 months just in preparation for someone to compete there. And then whenever they go on stage, it's kind of me there. And
Yeah.
if they lose, I lose. If they win,
Yeah.
I win. So I'm so invested in all of that and want to help so many people that it just takes away. So now whenever I have an opportunity, like, I'm not thinking about competing in Europeans or Worlds this year if they happen, because I know I'm bringing big team, a lot of my guys, and I don't have energy for that. And I'm okay with that. But I'm having my super matches, I'm having other things to do. And, I can be there promoting the sport and still grow as an athlete, but not at the same time as they are,
Right.
Yeah. Plus, it's way easier for in my opinion to be coach than coach.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
When
such a good
someone
point.
is when someone is there, like my best guys are those who, like, they don't question, they
Yep.
just do, and
Yep.
they will give me everything.
Yep.
They know I give them everything, they will give me everything, and as
Yep.
soon as we have that agreement, they do very, very well.
Well,
And
you just reminded me. You just reminded me when you said, "Why do you arm wrestle?" That should have been my response right there, because that's the opportunity for me to be coached rather than coach. And that might sound bad, but like, I was always, as a player, for the most part, I was a good soldier. Hey, Paul, go over there and run through that brick wall with your head.
yeah,
Okay, coach, I got you, and I'll run into it till I run it down. You know what I mean? And for years, I didn't have that. And I'm pouring all my energy into coaching kids, and it was so refreshing to be able to go to some senior guys around the way and literally just listen to them and just learn from them and just take those ass whippings from them. That perspective was so refreshing. At 35 years old, to be able to be the player again and not the coach is like, I mean, I guess you don't know what you got until it's gone, and then when you get it back, you appreciate it more.
yeah, it's like one of the things that we do. So like, Giannis has a different club. I have my own club. My club legacy, Giannis name is Kuokaruoka. So we live in the same house. It's the same gym, but they have different days of training. Their guys, my guys, but we train together. So
Right.
sometimes I will train with Giannis and we'll do what I want. Sometimes I will train with Giannis. We'll do what Giannis wants. Now I'm training for my matches and helping Raimons Antonovic for his top 8 match. And now we kind of, one session is what I want, one session is what he wants. Right. And it's way easier because you don't have, like, it's way easier for me to train. I'm like, today we're just going to do what you want, because now I can go hard. There's no talking back. Sometimes, when you figure something out and you want to do that, you're like, but I don't feel that good today. Well, it didn't feel that good in that lift. I will not go that heavy. And with someone else, like, we're just going to do it here and we're going to add weight, and we're like, okay, we're going to add weight. So look for those opportunities to be coached. That's the thing that,
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's so important, man. It's so important. Yeah. Like, and I wish kids understood it at a younger age, I wish I try to explain it to kids, that you're 16, 17 years old and I'm kicking your ass and making you run this hill and I'm yelling at you and I'm digging in your ass. And there's part of me that wants to be like, you don't know how much you're going to miss this.
Exactly.
You don't know how much you're going to miss someone caring that much about you, to spend their time after practice to run you on a hill when they should be with their family. Yeah. You're never going to understand what you're getting right now until it's gone. But if you can understand that in the moment and embrace it, you're only going to level up. And I miss that. I miss all of those things.
And it's like, some people will say, like, they will say negative things about people who don't think that much. They just do. But I think it's, as an athlete, it's one of the most positive things you can do, where you are just you're just a tool, Yeah. And I'm making something, and you are the thing that I'm making, And the best guys are those that don't question. They
right.
go hard.
What
You know?
you got to think about, like the greatest generals of all time started at the bottom. They started as soldiers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In order to get yourself to be to that level of coaching, direction or leader level, you have to at one point in time
Be led.
have been able to be led successfully and say, okay, I am going to do my portion. That's why I love football, because there's 11 men on the field. You all have differing jobs. Do your job, the team has success. Doesn't mean that you can't apply those exact same things to an individual sport or anything in life. I felt like that sports as a whole has taught me how to be a successful leader in life, which is the ultimate goal. And which is one of the main reasons why I continue to coach, whether it be football or arm wrestling, is that you're learning life lessons here. You're getting something invaluable that a lot of the world doesn't get the opportunity to get.
I got goosebumps. I got goosebumps from that. Yeah, I love leadership books. I read a lot of leadership books, a lot of technical books. But I just got Book of Five Rings, if you know that. Like it's 400-year-old writings of a samurai.
Oh,
Applies to a lot of stuff right now. Applies to the sport and everything else. So,
right.
yeah, if you want to be a leader, you have to look at other good leaders and
Absolutely.
learn from their mistakes faster. Because now everyone wants to be a leader. You know what I mean? Leader, like influencer.
Right.
But they don't have anything to influence.
Right.
But they, just want to. Yeah, that's a completely
it's a common misconception, man. A lot of people think about being in charge as being a leader. And
yeah,
stuff like that. It's
yeah.
dictation is not leadership. Being in charge is not being a leader. Being a leader is getting somebody to do what you want them to do, while making them think that they want it.
Yeah.
So there's so many things to it. I love it. I love that, and I love all aspects of motivation. From what motivates people, what motivates yourself, like the extrinsic and intrinsic motivation. I'm very like low-key obsessed with those things. What makes people tick, and the coaching aspect of that to me is almost more interesting than the actual football aspect. It's this kid operates this way, this kid operates this way. How do we get the most out of these two different kids? What makes them tick, and how do you tap in on it? So those things are the psychological aspect. I don't know, how much was your bachelor's about that stuff? Sports psychology.
I started my master's in sports psychology.
Okay.
But I didn't finish because we started and I read so many books that I was like, this is not interesting. Like I can find everything on the net, and I'm like, oh, I don't feel like I've had time. So at some point I'm going to go back and get my master's in sports psychology. But yeah, that's the one thing. And I have so many things I do with my guys when we go. I know what makes everyone tick, longer you work with someone, some guys you have to push, some guys you have to leave alone, and you kind of learn it, and more you look at people for those things, faster it is to recognize. So when someone new comes in, you're like, okay, I know about, I have some concept of what this guy is about, and I can apply that. And yeah, the motivation part is everything. In arm wrestling, it's a big deal because it's brutal. You're gonna go there and someone's gonna put full force in your arm. You can there's the Devon Might games, how he breaks his opponent and really breaks them. Yeah, and I love the concept of David Goggins taking souls.
Yeah.
It really applies. In that super match with Mazahir, as soon as I saw him breaking, I just played into it. I just made him feel worse, So there's a lot of things, and good coaches need to read, need to educate themselves, and need to reflect. And
and learning those each specific puller and what makes them tick. That really just brings it back to the relationship aspect too. You're not gonna. How can you effectively coach until you built some form of a trust-based relationship with them? You won't really learn them until you do.
Yeah,
and that brings it kind of full circle, at least for me.
Yeah. It's interesting because I think the coaching aspect in arm wrestling world, the coaching aspect, is very new, because all the time people looked at athlete and they just see an athlete. Now they're looking more behind, like, who's the guy behind the scenes. And especially like countries in Russia, Ukraine, there's always been great coaches behind the scenes. We just, they're not speaking English and they're
Right.
not on social media, so you don't know. But there are so many great guys in arm wrestling that know the small things, like Engin Terzi, he sees the smallest details and everything, and he's the one of the guys that is super obsessed. So
Yep.
I try to be that guy.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So your first year, you did pretty good. Is winning Arnold's your biggest accomplishment?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I haven't had since, COVID and a lot of the stuff so I missed certain things that I kind of regret. So when I first started arm wrestling, there were still nationals, and this is before. I don't know how much you're in tune with some of the drama that goes on over here.
I know. Yeah.
Well, anyway, there were still AAA nationals and USAA nationals, and I got to go to that 4 months in, which I did okay at, but I wasn't really ready. And then I also missed the WAL real tournament series. My first year, I did the amateur circuit or whatever, and I did pull the pro locals and things like that. But I missed what WAL used to be, which really over here was the easiest high level thing that we could do without having to travel internationally. Like that was the highest level competition over here.
Yeah, because everyone came.
Everyone came to us for the most part. You know what I mean? Now, maybe not WAF level or whatever, but a lot of elites came. And I missed that boat by 1 year. So I have regrets with that. And then after that first year of pulling AAA nationals, we never really got back to something of that level either. So the last, the Arnold I pulled in 2018, I guess that would have been 2 years. And then that was to me the biggest experience that I had in arm wrestling. So I went back in 19 and yeah, that's my biggest accomplishment. And I mean, obviously, like there's been opportunities since that and, whatever else, but with COVID and everything going on, it's made it really tricky as far as what do I want to invest as far as international travel, what's feasible, those type of things. I do think that like right now is a really tough time as far as figuring out motivation. I've been blessed to have this match come up like onto my lap to give me some real, let me get a straight 8-week camp in. But other than the Arnold, locally, there's not a whole lot other than like individual super matches and choosing one or whatever to really focus on. So yeah, the Arnold would be the biggest accomplishment. And man, I hope I can get back to that. I hope we can have another one of those.
Yeah. So, North American scene is very hard to figure out because it's so big and not everyone comes to every tournament. So I sometimes look at the ranking system and some guys have never pulled and, in weird places.
Yep.
But what I get from everyone, you are so well respected, because you're such a nice guy. Look, like I have never heard anyone, say anything bad, write anything bad, or just being like Paul's a dick or something, And from what I heard, you're next in line for WL Hammer, for a try at RVJ.
Yeah. If that happens, we'll see. I mean, I think WAL will come back. They're not going to come back until sponsorships and everything are lucrative. So until things loosen up and they can go about their show the way they want to, I don't know when that's going to happen. And I feel like I'm spinning my wheels because of it. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I think, I don't know if I'm the most deserving of that shot, but I'm probably the only person who has a shot that hasn't yet tried once. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of where I sit in as far as the pecking order goes. But you're right, the United States is crazy. Like when it comes to East and West Coast, like a lot of us never cross paths without WAL or nationals. And that's the frustrating part. Until there's something that is worth all the arm wrestlers to go spend a 3 or 4 day weekend and get a hotel room and a plane ticket to meet up and have the best competition, we're not going to see those matchups. We're not going to see that happen in the tournament. And it's frustrating to me. It really is. Because, I mean, even if it only happened once a year and it was just one national, or if it was one big money, like final or something of some sorts, but we don't have it. So it's tricky. You know, people offer you super matches and things like that. And that's like, I get offered matches a lot, and I'm not, 9 times out of 10, I'm not willing to reorganize my life for it. And that sounds bad, but like I tell them, I am booked every weekend, like indefinitely. You know,
Yeah.
if somebody wants me to come to California to pull so and so, that's going to cost me whatever plans I have, you know, with something that I might not be able to switch, or my family or work or whatever the case may be. Then I got to spend money and blah, blah, blah. And to me, it's just like, I'd rather go to a tournament that I can plan out 6 months in advance. And I can plan it, not like, hey, somebody throws this date on your lap, I need you to pull so-and-so. I guess my motivation level for that a lot of times is much lower. So I don't know. It's just kind of where the sport is. I'd love to get back to normal where we can travel internationally and plan for things, but it doesn't look like it's happening anytime soon.
It's a weird world we're living in, but
Yep.
yeah, I get it. Like the USA has always been so tricky. Sometimes, you know, this is the number one guy and he has never beaten like the top two and, you know, number 2 and 3, you know, but
Right.
you know, so yeah, that's
Well, and let's be honest too. Like I don't, the United North American participation in WAF is low, and
yeah,
I've never really understood why. It's, you know, we take a team over and it's masters and grandmasters.
Yeah.
Never really understood why.
Yeah, it's you know, for past years, you know, it's been like 2019, it was Jeff and Talbot, you know, really good pullers, you know, and I think just there's great pullers everywhere. They just need to be exposed more to that kind of competition or level, and your level will rise, you know.
So if you're looking at that objectively, what do you think the rationale, what do you think the reason for the United States not sending as many people or not having as many people is interested in WAF? Do you think it's like a cultural type thing? Do you think it's because in the past we've had so much more opportunities here with the different leagues and stuff that might pay money? I mean, what do you think the deciding factor was there?
Maybe it's the money factor, but you know, coming from USA to Europe, especially the countries where we've been in, they're all cheap. It's very cheap compared to you know, everything. But maybe it's the concept that, again, in their head they're thinking too strong, you know, and there's not enough guys who's like, no, they're not, you know. Maybe that is the issue, because there should not be any other issue why they couldn't come. You know, maybe some guys are on TRT or something, they cannot come, you know, but most guys could come and compete in the same level and just to see where the level is at. I don't know how WAF is presented in USA. Maybe it's still behind, because like WAF is the biggest organization that surrounds World Arm Wrestling. So Latvian Arm Wrestling Federation is under WAF. We have just one nationals. Most of the countries will have one nationals, and those are organized by WAF. Just maybe because it's kind of split in between, you know, in USA, there's no real sense on, you know, understanding like, why is this better than that one?
There's definitely no WAF direction in the United States that I feel. There is no, like, I mean, we had Leonard and Denise, or Leonard, who was
now it's IFA, and it's IFA championship this weekend, you know.
And I mean, I know a lot of people that went down for that. I don't know how the turnout's going to be for that. So
I think it's mostly going to be Americans there, you know. But
which is, and I'll be 100% honest with you, that which is the reason why I'm not down there. If I felt like it was going to be an international competition in the United States, there's absolutely no way I would miss it. I guess I was just a little bit like, all right, do I want to plan my life around something to get some title or compete for a title when, you know, I don't know, you know. I guess it's the opposite. Not that like, hey, you know, I'm worried about the competition. I'm worried about the competition not being there. I don't know. It's interesting.
The whole split is stupid. It's just it's plainly stupid. The first one they did, it looked like Swedish nationals in Poland 2019 in before Zloty Tour. They had IFA Worlds. It's just like Sweden all over the place, and Poland, the big countries. Now you can't really travel there. I still think the WAF is the benchmark. It just is. There might be some guys, but again, I don't know the guys from IFA that won IFA 2019 can get medal, just medal, not thinking about the gold medal in WAF. So it's weird. I don't like the split in arm wrestling. If we could compete everywhere, that would be amazing, because then we have more understanding on who is ranked how high. Even now, I think we could I was thinking about this yesterday and thinking, like, a lot of people don't understand. They think there's just one world champ. It's Levin. Levin is and everyone's like, I'm 5 foot. Do you think I can beat Levin at some? I'm like, dude, you can compete in 55 kg class. So but no one really understands. I think we need to kind of start making lightweight, middleweight, light heavyweight classes known. Just talking about lightweight puller, middleweight puller. Now we're kind of arm wrestler.
Well, and I think that's the kilogram breakdowns, I think, is that much more important in WAF. If you can get enough arm wrestlers to show up where you can go every 5 kilograms, I think that there needs to be a world champion in every 5 kilograms, in my opinion. I think that when it's an individual sport, it needs to be weight driven, period. Like boxing, wrestling, whatever the case may be, there should be the opportunity for you to manipulate up or down at least one weight class to find out where you can be the best.
Exactly. Yeah. And a lot of people, I think it was one of the things they say about, like, we will never be in Olympics. And I said, like, dude, like, weightlifting has so many weight classes, it's ridiculous. And you're thinking arm wrestling cannot do that, the same thing, or we can expand from 5 kg to 6 or 7, and we can. But right now, like, I have competed in classes that had 44 competitors, 39 competitors, and it was like 75 has 33 competitors, 80 has like 29, then 85 has 40. And it's like that because for WAF, and people, again, they don't understand this. Whenever you go to WAF championship, each country can bring 2 athletes for 1 weight class. So if you have like 40 guys there, that's 27 nations. And if you won there, most likely you will have 27 nations best arm wrestlers. Most likely you will have it. And you can really think of yourself as the best in the world. With, I think Giannis has said this, kind of asked the question, when you win WAF World Championship, do you really feel like, in heavyweights, do you really feel like the best guy on the planet? He said, because we have this Zloty Tour and people outside there, you can really understand, are you that good? But the same thing than the problems that we're facing in powerlifting, where it's IPF and everyone else. IPF lifts lower weights, but they're recognized, by everybody in the world. And it's a weird situation where strength sports are, but maybe we can fix it at some point.
Right. And I think, like, listening to what you're saying about the top 2 best in the weight classes going, I think that really brings back to, like, North American issues that we have. There is no way that, unless we got like years worth of organization and unification in our country of 50 different states, unless we were able to do that, there would be no way that we could guarantee that we had our 2 best. There'd be no way. Like, we are so far away from that now, it's almost daunting. Like, if some promoter here was going to say, you know what, I want to bring back a WAF team of the best in the weight classes, it would probably take them 5 to 10 years to get that organized. And there's a strong possibility they would fail, because I think that the top 2 best wouldn't go. And it's weird over here, whether it's they don't want the competition, or they don't want to waste the money when they feel like they could be making money. The mind state here towards that is just different. And I don't personally, from a even promoter's perspective, I don't even know how, if I said, hey, me and James are going to take this bull by the horns and we're going to try and straighten this out, I wouldn't even know where to start to change that cultural mind state, which is strange, and it's kind of sad.
Yeah. So it's there are many difficulties like making something like that big. I know that what I have heard, USA doesn't pay money to Olympic athletes.
No.
No.
Yeah.
So like we will have like 100, like if you win gold in Olympics, you will have like 114,000 euros. So that's a big money, like big money. I don't know if they pay for other world championship, because we will have like 40,000 euros. An average pay is 700 euros a month. So if you win there, you have everything. Just because maybe the system is different in USA, it's very hard to do that thing. But like, do you know how Russians get to nationals?
No.
So Russia is super big. So to compete in nationals, first you need to win like your city tournament. So there's many tournaments in different cities, 2 guys from each class. You win, you can go to region. And there's like, I don't know, 30, 40 regions. So first 2 guys from winning the regions can go to nationals. And in nationals, only first 2 guys can go to worlds and Europeans. So it's like 3-layered system.
Right. And now it takes out the subjectiveness too. Like you got to win to get there.
Yeah.
So that's the progression. I mean, I think that's one of the things that's really important. Like the idea of a progression. That's one of the things that the WAL used to have. You win your local, you go to your regional, you have to place top 2 or top whatever to get in, then you get your ticket to the final. So there's an incentive at each piece, and it drives people to keep achieving.
Giannis said like the first time he's like 90 people in my class or something when the first year or something. He said it was crazy, just because. And I remember the tournaments, because they were posting the videos and everything from the tournaments. So many people entering, and so many broken arms. That was another thing. But it was just because it was open for everyone. And I think WL did really good there. I don't think the model kind of worked out, because they could have made a lot of money from that and just keep on going and doing, make tournaments and do the super matches, make the tournaments, do the super matches. Top guys arise to the top and get into the roster, something like that. Yeah, it's an interesting issue. We're dealing the best we can, I think, in the world of arm wrestling.
I know. It's just you feel like it could be so much more, but there's no easy answer on how to make it that way.
So I don't want to take too much of your time. Last subject. You have a big super match with John Brzenk. So how has been the training? How dedicated or focused you are on this match? How do you feel about this match?
I mean, so like if you say, how do I feel about this match? I feel no pressure. I feel no pressure, which doesn't mean I feel no motivation. I feel like it's an opportunity of a lifetime. If Travis made a good point when we were talking about the match itself. He was like, for you, this match is so much better than pulling Rob Vigent. It's so much better. You're talking about the greatest of all time. You're talking about like a weight gap, disparity and everything else. He said, you got nothing to lose. Why would you not? That's 100%. I got nothing to lose, everything to gain. And for me, this is the biggest opportunity I've had so far. So, and it's given me an opportunity, because I knew I was getting the match 10 weeks out. So I have preparation time. So there's no excuses on my end. Whatever happens. I am going to be the strongest version of myself. I can tell you that I am in the gym right now. I have changed my diet slightly because I have 10 pounds I got to gain, and I'm creeping on that right now. So I'm the biggest I've been right now since college football. I'm also the strongest. Like my general gym lifts. I mean, obviously things have changed and everything, but I did 315 on the flat bench block for 17 the other day. That's the most I've ever done. So I'm coming, like, general strength is really good, and I'm focusing on like a handful of arm wrestling specific movements and angles that I feel like I really need to improve on to be able to compete with John. And I'm healthy. So no major elbow pain, nothing like that. I've been able to go and practice really, really hard with good groups of guys, week in and week out since I started. And I'm going to go ahead this week to work with Sam on some finer technical stuff. So yeah, I mean, I got nothing to lose. I'm looking forward to it. I think I'm looking forward to it with less pressure on myself than I would have for the Arnold Classic, or if I was going to nationals, or if I was going to WAF. There's less pressure here. So yeah, no, I mean, I'm blessed just to get the opportunity. I have no major expectations. If I if I lose, I'm gonna shake John's hand and say it was an honor. If I find a way to win, I'm gonna shake John's hand and say it was an honor.
Yeah, yeah, you're completely right. I think it's a win-win situation, however it goes. Because
Right.
John's the John. Would you imagine, when you get into the sport and you figure out like year in who John Brzenk is, like, yeah, in 2021 I'm gonna pull him.
Yeah, see, and I knew John Brzenk before I got involved in arm wrestling. Like, I remember Wide World of Sports.
Okay.
I always loved Over the Top, and I knew who John Brzenk was. I knew these guys loosely. I knew arm wrestling was a thing,
Yeah.
And I knew John was the man. And I've seen highlights of John forever. I mean, the guy's in, like, what is he? What was he in? Something that he got nominated into, like, a top 100 greatest athletes or something per sport or something. Like, the guy's known. Like, I knew about this guy before I even started arm wrestling.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, if you want to talk about, like, if there's anybody that he's the GOAT, he's the Michael Jordan of the sport. Like, if somebody says to me, like, hey, you get to play Michael Jordan in one-on-one, do you want to do it? I'm gonna say absolutely. He's making a fool of me, but that's fine. Same thing with, like, all right, can you want to go around with Tyson? Sure, I want to go around with Tyson, just to say I did it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's an honor in any way, shape, or form. That being said, I think a lot of people might, because I'm, in these interviews, this has been my stance. I don't want to confuse anybody that I'm 100% coming into this training to win it.
I know.
My mind state before the match is going to be a little bit different. So, yeah, I mean, I'm training to win it.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I love when people are real, and you're the realest as they come. You exactly, you said it how it is, but I don't think anyone will or should forget that you're coming there to win it.
No, yeah, I'm coming in the best version of myself, period. And if the best version of myself doesn't measure up to John, then fine, I can live with that. But I will be the best version of myself in preparation for him.
Yeah. Well, man, this has been amazing. The hour just flew by. Yeah. I tell everyone where to find you. I will post all the links in description.
Lethal Arms Network on YouTube. You can find me on Instagram, all those platforms, Facebook, everything else. If you're interested in apparel, www.shoplethalarms.com. But yeah, hey Ray, thank you for the opportunity, man. I enjoyed doing the fix with you. It's been nice to get to know you over the past year or so.
Yeah.
I appreciate the relationship that we've forged, across many thousands of miles. But thank you for having me on.
Man, it's always a pleasure. It's always a pleasure. Okay, stay strong. Love Armwrestling.
All right.